thought maybe Llewyn's doing it alone could be partly contributed to that kind of a culture that is very prevalent in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, he is absolutely an example of, a product of, a textbook example of a kind of individualism. And if you believe, one of the ideas of America is that if you're good enough at something, you can have anything you want. And I'm really not sure, and I'm not saying this to be like cute, I'm really not sure how talented we're supposed to think Llewn is. Because I don't think there's a definite answer. Because art and music is subjective. What's definite to him is subjective to the rest of us. I know some people who like this movie because they think the point of the movie is that Llewn is mediocre. That just because you can play some chords and you have a decent voice and you're kind of cute looking doesn't make you Bob Dylan. And there are some other people who think that this movie is a tragedy because this great artist never got a chance to succeed. So I think Llewn believes that he's great. But the question of whether we believe he's great or whether the fact that being great means you should get anything for it is very much open when you bring up the idea of individualism, for sure.
Okay.
Actually, I have two questions. One of them is related to that. I just wonder, he didn't want to play with other guys just because of his loyalty to his partner, Mike, or just because of his ego? This is one of my questions. My second question is that did he live until the end of his life like a jerk as it was shown here, or?
We don't know. Those are both great questions because they're both questions that neither I, nor the Coens, nor anyone in this room can answer definitively. Does he not want to play with other people because he's an egomaniac or because he misses Mike? I don't know. That's a great question because that shows that there's a complexity to this character's creation that supports both possibilities. And as for what happens to him after, the only thing that we know is that he doesn't make it. Because if he did, we would know about him. Because this movie, I mean, which is also kind of not true because it's a fictional film, but bringing Bob Dylan into the movie at the end of the movie complicates the idea of fiction because it sets this in the real world. If Bob Dylan shows up and succeeds at the end of this movie, we know who Bob Dylan is. We don't know who Llewn Davis is. So whatever happens to him, he just didn't become that. And whether that's enough to totally write him off, or to maybe have some hope that he found something else to live for, I don't know. I mean, again, but the best thing about movies is when they end at the last possible moment. And I'm not going to say I don't think it matters what happens to Llewn after that, but I'm not really that interested to find out. I'm going to guess he probably doesn't have the best life. Okay, yes.
I have a couple of questions. I'm not going to through all of them, probably in our discussion, but...
As long as it's short.
Okay, yeah, I try to be. Do you think he was a failure?
Do I think he was a failure?
Yes, I'm not yes.
No. No, I don't. And maybe we can talk about why after, but I don't.
Okay. There was another scene also. Can I continue? There was another scene talk about it was a dog he hit on the road.
No,
Yeah, I love the cat scene.
Yeah, it was a cat.
Yeah, it's a cat.
No, I don't remember anything. Why we had that scene?
Oh, I love that question. Talking about the cat on the road. The cat on the road. So
That
when
he hit it.
Yeah. So when I saw the film, I had a friend who'd seen it in Cannes already, and like months before. And I texted him after the film, like 2 minutes after seeing the film. This is someone else who really likes the Coens. And I said, I saw the film. This is good. This is funny. I like Oscar Isaac and all that. And he said, what do you think about the cat? And without thinking, I texted him back and I said, oh man, I think about that scene all the time. And then I realized I'd seen the movie like 5 minutes ago. But it was meaning that I was already thinking that this was something I was going to think about all the time, even though I'd seen the movie 5 minutes ago. To me, that cat is such a potent symbol of so many possible things. Because it's wounded and it's limping off into the woods. He can barely see it. It looks like he's the one who hurt it, but he can't be sure. He might have killed it, but he can't be sure. But like Llewn, it kind of walks off under its own power sort of into the forest. And so whether people see that cat all through the movie, remember there's two cats, and one of them, when she says, where's its scrotum, it's a pretty funny line about Llewn himself feeling emasculated, right? Like, yeah. Where's this guy's guts, where's his balls, anything like that. But that other cat, whether it's the cat that made it all the way back home, or the second cat that he left behind, I think it's very, very important that we're not sure. and that he's not sure if he hit it, he's not sure if he killed it. You can almost barely not even be sure that it's a cat because of how it's filmed. But it's something that's getting away from him. It's something that's a little bit wounded. It's a very significant moment. But like the best significant moments, I can't explain it 100%. If I could, I don't think it would be as powerful as it is. That's not me trying to be evasive. I think that it's a great moment in their film because it's open. And I think the Coens in general have become more open as they've gotten older. There's a difference between movies that start with ambiguity and then just make it there, and movies that actually invite us to really think and feel about what they're saying. I think The Cat is an example of the second thing myself.
Can I get another one or not?
Last one.
Okay. You didn't talk about male interpretation of this film, so I was wondering if you can talk about it a little bit.
I don't know, I'd just say I know a lot of guys like that. Maybe not people who are folk singers, but I think that there's a particular kind of competitiveness and a kind of arrogance and a kind of a way of using people that I think is very male. And I think it's meant to be funny and ironic that a lot of the women in the film still kind of find that attractive about him, even if Carey Mulligan doesn't find it attractive anymore, you know, clearly. But she has a little moment where she softens when he comes back. They film her giving him just this kind of little smile. And so the question of whether there's something attractive or empathetic about that sort of just self-destructive male behavior is sort of there. I mean, the Coens in general have not typically made movies about women, but the women in their films are often the most interesting part. Like I think in No Country for Old Men, Kelly Macdonald's character and her scene with Javier Bardem at the end is so interesting, and it's not interesting in the book. But Llewn Davis is not maybe the best example of that. I actually think that if there's a bad performance in this movie, I don't think Carey Mulligan's very good. And I just don't think they write her that well. She's funny, but she's a little thin. And I find her a little disappointing.
Our last question.
Yes, I have a question that came about cat.
Yeah.
I know that the cat is not the usual animals for road movies. It's not good.
Well, it is because of Harry and Tonto by Paul Mazursky is about a guy who drives on a road trip with his cat. So that's one example, but sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm just, because I know that you are interested in John also. I'm just curious to know if you know how Coen Brothers thinks about John in the cinema, and how here, for example, did they try to make any work, or did they try to break the rules of road movies or genres, or?
Well, they show the poster at the end of the movie for that Disney film, The Incredible Journey, which is all about I think 2 dogs and a cat that walk all the way back home, which is very funny when Llewn sees it. It's like a metaphor for himself. You know, they found their way home, and so did he, and so did the cat. I mean, the idea about dogs maybe is that dogs are very loyal and easy to control and follow, and the thing about the cat is it's elusive. It keeps getting away from him. You know, it's kind of hard to control a cat. Also, I don't know how many of you have seen Robert Altman's film, The Long Goodbye. But the beginning of this film and the end of this film, where the cat jumps down on him and wakes him up, it's exactly the same as The Long Goodbye. And The Long Goodbye is also about a character who's kind of a little out of time, a little bit left behind. The Long Goodbye is a much bigger influence on The Big Lebowski than it is on Inside Llewn Davis. But I think that the thing about a cat, and I'm a cat owner, my wife and I have a cat, like, they're impossible. You know, you can never really tell how they feel about you. It's hard to kind of keep track of them.
Cool, they are.
It's hard to keep track of them. So I think for the film to work, it has to be a cat, because you don't chase a dog. You bring a dog, but you chase a cat. So I think that's. But again, it can. I mean, Joel Coen's so funny. Like I said, they said, "Why is there a cat in the movie?" He said, "Oh, the movie was boring, so we put a cat in it." That was his quote.
Okay, so great. Thank you. So